on Tai Ji Formation Touchdown!
This was a performance and the prelude to the opening ceremony of the Taipei 2017 Universiade. The spectacular martial arts performance electrified the entire audience. The performers were from the Taijiman Qigong Academy. It's an ancient menpai of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation, where shifu passes down his kung fu to his dizi. The dizi are of all ages, from all walks of life. In addition to practicing Qigong and pursuing self-cultivation, they are also devoted to promoting the true martial arts spirit and culture to prevent wars and promote goodwill. Over the years, they have self-funded their trips, participated in over 3,000 cultural performances at home and abroad, and have visited over 100 nations across the planet. They also performed in Taiwan's National Day celebrations and in the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. They presented cultural performances. However, it is hard to imagine such an organization full of positive energy has suffered injustice for more than 20 years. Because of a groundless accusation and prosecution, Taijiman shifu and tens of thousands of dizi were misunderstood by countless people. In 2007, after 3 criminal trials, the accused were proved innocent. But to this day, Taijiman has not obtained real justice. This is a case about legal abuse, administrative malfeasance, and human rights abuses. Now we are going to reveal the truth that everyone needs to know.
Injustice!
To me, the sky was gray in 1996.
I saw policemen at the door. They were fully armed.
The next day, I started to hear other brothers and sisters' houses being searched by police.
I was only 5 years old at the time.
To me, it has been a nightmare for years.
Shifu turned his head and looked at me. Our eyes met, and I burst into tears.
He claimed that we are an evil group. I feel I'm here to confront an evil government agency.
Taipei District Prosecutor's Office issued 7 search warrants today in Taipei.
On December 19, 1996, based on a letter with a false accusation of fraud, Hou Guanzhen, a prosecutor of Taipei District, led hundreds of armed police officers to search the 12 chapters of the Taijiman Qigong Academy, as well as some Taijiman dizi's houses, a large-scale search.
I remember when it just started. Prosecutor Hou Guanzhen was extremely rude and came in with armed policemen. We are not criminals. Why was it necessary to have armed policemen with guns loaded rushing into the Taijiman Academy?
The policeman came in without speaking or showing any credentials, then immediately ransacked my house.
I just put down my bag at the academy when the policeman said he had to search my bag.
During that period, the ruling party started crackdown on religion. For organizations, non-governmental organizations, namely NGOs, which were influential or the number of whose members was big enough, the government will have concerns and the media call it crackdown on religion. Unfortunately, Taijiman was listed as one of their targets.
In fact, the poison pen letter was also sent to the Kaohsiung and Hsinchu district prosecutors' offices.
Did the prosecutor of Kaohsiung District Prosecutor Office receive the poison pen letter? Yes. Was there an investigation? Yes. The prosecutor from Kaohsiung immediately closed the case, and there was not even a need for non-prosecution sanction. Did the prosecutor of Hsinchu District Prosecutor Office receive the poison pen letter? Yes. The content was exactly the same, and the prosecutor from Hsinchu was also ready to close the case. The same poison pen letter reached the Taipei District Prosecutor Office. Then it reached the prosecutor Hou Guanzhen. How come it became such a huge case after that?
Taijiman's Zhangmenren Hong Shihe was taken away by the prosecutor. His wife, You Meizhong, went to the investigation voluntarily. Both of them were taken into custody right away. Even though the Taijiman dizi who accompanied them were detained for questioning for more than 24 hours and were illegally interrogated at night. 5 days later, the prosecutor launched another search. This time, one of the targets was Chen Tiaoxin, who was fondly called the Big Brother by the dizi.
My house was also searched on the 24th. On the same day after the search, I was taken into custody. And I was detained for 4 months. I was detained and held incommunicado. All the questions were designed to frame Taijiman shifu. You needed to give the answers they wanted. If you don't obey, they torture you with emotional abuse.
Chen Tiaoxin's wife was not even a defendant. Was she a suspect? No. But Prosecutor Hou Kuanzhen held Chen Tiaoxin's wife in a detention room for criminals in the Taipei District Prosecutor's office. Do you want to admit it? If not, I'll arrest your daughters and wife. This was how the prosecutor threatened Brother Chen Tiaoxin.
Then the prosecutor asked, "Is your shifu's wrongful real?" I replied, "Yes." Then he was doing like this, pounding the table hard, loudly, and angrily. He said, "You have no compassion. What are you practicing? What are you cultivating? You have absolutely no compassion. Your family is going to be, your wife is going to be in prison, and you don't even want to rescue her."
Chen Tiaoxin was not accused by anyone. Just because he was called the Big Brother, he was regarded by the prosecutor as an accomplice of fraud and was put in jail for 116 days. Another Taijiman dizi, Peng Lijun, who had a 7-month-old baby, was named by the prosecutor Hou as confidential secretary, a non-existing title in Tai Ji Men. Her house was also searched. When she was taken away, her family was not even notified.
Her family and school knew nothing about her being detained. It was her boss who felt weird about her being missing and wrote a letter to the Taipei District Prosecutor's office, and then Hou Kuanzhen finally informed her school on December 31st, 1996, that Peng Lijun had been held in custody. From the 24th to the 31st, it had been 7 days. That means that Peng had disappeared for 7 days and nobody knew where she had gone.
He knew I had a little one. He had also said, "I checked your background, I know you're innocent." And yet he still took me to the conference room and wrote a false statement. I told him, "No, that is not what I said."
While reading Peng Lijun's testimony, we found a lot of untruthful statements which were not stated by Peng Lijun, and many lines were the prosecutor's questions and his own answers. Therefore, Peng Lijun's witness deposition was not written exactly according to her statements.
Like Chen Tiaoxin, without anyone accusing her and without evidence, even when her testimony was suspected of being tempered and falsified, Peng Lijun was detained for 40 days.
The old fashion was to obtain testimony by detained people. Once a person was taken into custody, presumption of guilt will be applied instead of presumption of innocence. Hence, he will only search for evidence unfavorable to the defendant. He will hide evidence favorable to the defendant and even destroy it.
All operations in Taijiman are compliant with national laws and regulations.
The next day after the first wave of search, Taijiman dizi Li Zhengwen and Wen Xiuzhen held a press conference to clarify misconceptions about Tai Ji Men. Both Li and Wen were therefore placed on the list of the second wave of search.
They just stepped forward and then were interviewed by journalists. They explained that information released by the prosecutor and the media was completely different from what they have heard, learned, and seen in Taijiman. That's basically what they said. Immediately, the prosecutor directed the Investigation Bureau to search their houses and bring people to the Investigation Bureau for questioning.
In fact, he had only a search warrant at that time. It should be over after the search. He didn't have the authority to ask me to go with him. At the time, we didn't know we had the right to reject him, but I did ask him, "Do I have to go with you?" He replied, "If you don't go, I will arrest more of your fellow brothers and sisters." That made me feel that I would better go.
What was his purpose? To create a so-called cheating effect, so that Taijiman dizi would not dare to step forward and talk to the media, and would not dare to stand up and say that they are innocent.
However, what was the legal ground for the prosecutor's big move, the 2 waves of search and detention?
In a criminal investigation, first there should be a victim, and then the prosecutor starts an investigation. However, in the Taijiman case, because of a false report, Hou Kuanzhen, the then prosecutor of the Taipei District Prosecutor's Office, launched searches without first investigating into the matter. But there were no victims. How could the prosecutor carry on? 6 days after searching Taijiman, apparently the prosecutor realized that this important link was missing. He then publicly called for the establishment of a self-help association through the media, urging victims to register as soon as possible. But what was the evidence of losses or damage? Prosecutor Ho's claims were unprecedented and stirred up public opinion and discussions in the legal community.
Here, we also urge other victims who haven't yet registered.
What was the purpose of the self-help association? To cause divisions. As a prosecutor, when people clearly said, no, I was not defrauded, he said, yes, you're defrauded. You should join the self-help association as soon as possible. He then asked the Taipei City Councilman to act as the chair of the self-help association, right? Then what? He asked the Investigation Bureau for help and published no notice in newspapers, urging people to go to the Taipei City Council to register as victims.
Established with the encouragement of the prosecutor, the self-help association was questionable. It failed to provide evidence of loss or damage, including the identities of its members.
For example, Zheng Bin claimed she was the vice chair of the association. None of her children was a Taijiman dizi. She falsely claimed an amount of until 3-4 million under the names of her children and falsely claimed they were Taijiman dizi. She then had them join the self-help association in order to defraud.
Regarding the accusations made by some people through the media, I've never heard or seen those things in Taijiman. To me, it is simple. At this place, we just strengthen our bodies and cultivate our hearts. The academy, which was very simple, was smeared in the process. Honestly, that was totally unbelievable.
Even so, at the end of the 4-month investigation period, on April 15, 1997, Prosecutor Hou Quanzhen filed charges of fraud and the violation of Tax Collection Act against Zhang Menzhen of Tai Ji Men, his wife, and 3 dizi. For the first time in Taiwan's judicial history, raising goblins was listed in the indictment. He accused Zhang Menzhen of casting spells and raising goblins to control his dizi.
There are many who are possessed by goblins and become insane, or there are some students dropping out of school.
Regarding these accusations, Taijiman dizi could not accept them.
He claimed that we are an evil group. I feel I'm here to confront an evil government agency. Why would you smear us like this? Why would you defame us like this? Why would you fabricate something that's never happened?
These accusations were beyond my imagination. This is a place where I practice Qigong, such a clean and pure place that has made my mom, my sister, and my whole family happy. How could those accusations have to do with this place? Defrauding? Casting spells? And other nonsense? Honestly, I have never heard those things here. On that day, when I saw those accusations, I cried until I ran out of tears.
The release of indictment stirred up public opinion. A criminal investigation requires scientific evidence. How could the prosecutor prove the act of raising goblins? The next day, Hou Quanzhen again led an army of investigators to the Taijiman Angang branch to search for evidence.
Prosecutor Hou Quanzhen led investigators to search the Taijiman Qigong Academy in Nangang
to see if there's any proof of supernatural powers and beings.
What did you find?
I seized a peachwood sword.
The peachwood sword was regarded as evidence of raising goblins and was taken away by the prosecutor, but in fact that was a gift from Taijiman dizi to her shifu.
That was just an artifact I gave to my shifu. I was furious. Then I called my son and asked him what we should do. My grandson was only a few months old then. I said, we are going to protest in front of the presidential office. The baby's coming too.
In traditional culture, a peachwood sword is used to ward off evil spirits. It's an auspicious artifact that people place in their homes to ward off evil spirits. How could it be those things declared by Hou Quanzhen?
The prosecutor tried to find evidence after he filed the charges. Only after he filed the prosecution did he start to interrogate the defendant about the alleged crimes.
On the morning of April 17, the prosecutor searched Tai Ji Men. He found the peachwood sword and seized it. He claimed it was the evidence of raising goblins. Not until the afternoon of April 17 did he ask the Zhang Menzhen, did you raise goblins or not?
However, what is absurd is not limited to the investigation process.
May 5, 1997, Prosecutor Hou Quanzhen was interviewed during a TV program.
Of course, he denied it, but I saw a streak of shadow in his eyes. Based on my instinct from years of handling cases, I think that he might have raised goblins.
If based on the look in your eyes, a prosecutor can decide whether to prosecute you or not, then there will be no peace in Taiwan.
The prosecutor handling cases based on his instinct and the look in people's eyes drew much attention from the media. Every time he conducted a large-scale search, he was surrounded by media. In fact, when he searched Taijiman for the first time, he brought journalists with him, even participated in a TV interview talking about the case he was investigating. By law, investigations should be kept confidential, but the prosecutor leaked it to the public. According to the statistics, the next day after the first round of a search, 7 TV stations and 29 news articles covered the story, giving in-depth reporting about the process of the search. Before a public prosecution was filed, there were over 400 news articles and over 70 news reports broadcast by 12 TV stations. With a comprehensive news coverage, Taijiman was criticized by countless people in all fields. Tens of thousands of thieves and their families were under tremendous pressure.
I was wearing the Taijiman uniform while waiting for my dumplings. A stranger pulled me by the shoulder. He said, "How dare you to still wear the uniform Taijiman is?" Like that, he started yelling at me. I say, "Do I look like a bad guy?" I was too shocked to say anything else. I could only say those words. I was not able to say anything else. The media was smearing me. All I could say was, "Do I look like a bad guy?"
There were many violations of the due process in the prosecution. A law professor in the U.S. also questioned this.
It is not due process to accuse a human being in a civilized society of raising goblins. The mere statement of that would cause individuals and should cause individuals to question the sanity of the prosecutor. And in any court of law, such an absurd allegation would be thrown out.
The indictment was considered ridiculous by legal experts. It violated due process. It was unscientific. But the repeated false reporting by the media created a widespread perception of guilt before the case was tried. Raising goblins became a hot topic at the time. However, Prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren, from the first day of detention to the release of his bill of indictment, only conducted 3 hearings, asking only 13 questions. The hearings only took 29 minutes. Such a reckless prosecution had wasted many judicial resources. After 3 trials spanning 10 years and 3 months, with cross-examinations and 58 court hearings lasting 9,570 minutes, Taijiman was found not guilty.
After a public prosecution was filed, on April 18, 1997, the case was tried in the district court. The case was under the jurisdiction of the district court. However, on April 25, Hou Kuan-ren issued a letter to the Ministry of the Interior without authorization, calling Taijiman an evil religious group and demanding to disband it. Later, he issued letters to 8 county city governments across Taiwan, demanding them to disband Taijiman. He even issued official letters to Taipei City County governments, demanding them to turn off water and electricity to Taijiman. Through these letters, he intended to cripple Taijiman. After seeking administrative remedies for 2 years, Taijiman Dizi finally had illegal demands revoked.
As a prosecutor, he didn't have the authority to do those things. How could he issue those letters without authorization? The Ministry of Interior didn't listen to him. The county city governments ignored him. He directly issued letters to the public works of county city governments. He didn't have the authority to do that. Therefore, he obviously overstepped his authority.
The prosecutor used various unlawful methods, attempting to disband Taijiman, but he couldn't provide concrete evidence to prove Taijiman guilty. On September 25, 2003, Taijiman was found not guilty on the first trial, then underwent the second and third trials. On July 13, 2007, after hearing spanning 10 years and 3 months, the judges found Taijiman not guilty of fraud, tax evasion, or violation of the tax codes. All the defendants were found not guilty.
The court decision proved one thing. The truth is Taijiman is innocent. Real gold can withstand fire.
In fact, Prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren validated the due process in handling the case and abused Taijiman members. That aroused much controversy in society. Therefore, in 2002, the Control Yuan, while the trial was underway, provided an investigation report of its own accord. It listed 8 violations of the law by Hou: violation of confidentiality in investigation, unlawful search, unscientific handling of the case, overstepping his authority, etc. It demanded the Ministry of Justice to take disciplinary action against Hou. but the Ministry of Justice stated it would handle it after the court decision was made. However, the case dragged on for over 10 years. The statute of limitations for punishment against Prosecutor Ho had expired.
The prosecutor violated the law knowingly. What is such a prosecutor doing now? What is he doing now? What is his job title? He is now Deputy Director of the Agency Against Corruption. A prosecutor who used coercion is now serving as Deputy Director of the Agency Against Corruption. This is outrageous.
We want freedom. We want human rights.
About 2 years after the Supreme Court made the final ruling, the 4 defendants of the Taijiman case illegally detained all received national compensation for unlawful imprisonment, but they decided to donate their compensation to support the judicial reform and human rights protection.
To them, the compensation for unlawful imprisonment was justice delayed. During the 10+ years and the 20+ years, they suffered a lot. Some of their family became broken, some were deceased. We hope a just case like this can inspire fairness and justice in the judiciary. Hope prosecutors who abuse their power and violated the law will be removed from the office and punished accordingly.
Human rights abusers!
Step down immediately!
Step down immediately!
However, no disciplinary action was taken. The case of injustice has not ended. The prosecutor's indictment falsely claimed that Taijiman raised goblins and committed fraud. He also falsely claimed that Taijiman was a cram school and was suspected of tax evasion. Based on the indictment, the Taxation Bureau issued tax bills to Tai Ji Men. But the 3 trials all found Tai Ji Men not guilty. Namely, the accusations in the indictment were proved unfounded by the court. The Taxation Bureau still won't cancel the illegal tax bills based on the untruthful indictment, making Tai Ji Men trapped in the cycle of never-ending tax bills.
During the first, second, and third trials, we explained in great detail what items listed in the indictment were unfounded. If the Taxation Bureau issued tax bills based on the indictment, then I think that was absurd.
I've always believed we will finally be proved innocent and prevail. We hope Tai Ji Men doesn't get discouraged. Sometimes justice is not served, but eventually justice will be served.
Revoke illegal tax bills!
Respect shifu! They are gifts, no tax evasion!
Respect shifu! They are gifts! No tax evasion!
The criminal courts have confirmed the innocence of Taijiman for over 10 years. It's absurd that the Supreme Court's decision of not guilty of tax evasion or violation of tax codes would be ignored and disregarded by the Taxation Bureau. What is worse, when searching Taijiman, prosecutors seized Taijiman Shifu's 2 bank accounts. The total balance was only approximately 610,000 NT dollars. It was falsely reported by the media the next day that the balance was 3.1 billion NT dollars. Using this fabricated number, the prosecutor then brought charges of fraud and tax evasion. How did the prosecutor and the Taxation Bureau come up with this number? The Taxation Bureau has failed to give an answer for the past 20+ years. The Taxation Bureau only keeps issuing unjustified tax bills to Taijiman. Many legal and tax experts think that the Taijiman case is similar to the February 28th incident. The Taijiman case is a case of human rights abuses with the greatest number of victims after the White Terror. Are there any other facts about the case that you need to know? We will continue to reveal them to you.